Hi everyone, Ariel here. I decided to do my research surrounding schizophrenia and read an autobiography by Elyn and her journey with the mental disorder called The Center Cannot Hold. It's an amazing book. I recommend you read it. Originally, I thought that if someone had schizophrenia, they were destined to end up on the streets, homeless, or in a mental hospital, but what I learned furthered my awareness of my worldview and how no matter what mental illness someone has, they shouldn't have limits placed on them because of it. Elyn completed school at Oxford. She went on to study law at Yale, where she completed the bar, was a lawyer, and then eventually went on to teach at USC. So knowing all these accomplishments, it's remarkable and pretty wild that she had this mental illness the whole time during these accomplishments. When she was first admitted to the hospital, she was put in restraints because others feared her. So one of my favorite stories about this in the book was she held up a plastic fork to the nurse and was like, I can kill you with this. And she was joking, but the nurse was so scared that immediately she called the security and she was put in restraints because of this. And so it kind of made me laugh reading it and the comicalness she added to it. But it was honestly unfortunate that she wasn't understood and was looked at and feared of so much. So when she was released from the hospital, she tried to wean off the drugs multiple times, but each time her symptoms came back, it resulted in her entering into deep psychosis. She would isolate herself, she wouldn't shower, she would look like she was homeless, and thankfully she had her friends and her doctor there to convince her to go back on medication and return to her sanity. She wanted so badly not to be affected by the illness, but eventually accepted it because she knew that she couldn't live her day-to-day life without it. And even after she wrote this book, a lot of her friends stopped being her friends when they found out that she had schizophrenia and that she had kept it from them for so long. And they said that even if they had known originally, they wouldn't have been friends with her. So it's super unfortunate how she was vulnerable and still was shut out by some. Today, schizophrenia is still a mystery. There's no cure. There are two types, positive and negative. So positive is acting out. So like saying different things or reacting wildly or acting somewhat like a crazy person, whereas negative effects are internal. So that's isolating, not taking care of yourself, kind of moving away from people, not able to talk. So negatives like internal, where positive symptoms are external. Current research believes that the illness is from the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex organizes our thoughts, and so people with schizophrenia have very disorganized thoughts. Everything's coming in at once. All their senses are taken in at once. And so the prefrontal cortex is also connected to our genetic origin, and so a C4 gene has been found to be in charge of neural pruning. And a study was done of roughly 64,000 people, and those with a psychiatric disorder were shown to have a mutant C4 gene. So this could be psychiatric disorders aside from schizophrenia, but in schizophrenia, it's shown that those who have a mutant C4 gene have also excessive pruning, which is from the genetic origin in the prefrontal cortex. So that's just one small piece and one small area they found, but many cases are different, so they can't relate it to everyone, and it's not the one outlier or the one responsible cause for schizophrenia. Today, it's looked at as a spectrum, very similar to how autism is now looked at. So some people are severely affected and have to be on medications, and then some people are currently in remission and no longer have to take medication and are barely affected. So they may occasionally have anxiety or psychotic symptoms, but that's all. So it's every case needs to be looked at individually. And then also medications, people should be wary of their effects because if you take a lot of medication, it can reduce in a reduction of brain tissue, and also when you relapse, it can be a reduction of brain tissue. So it's good to keep your medication maintained so that way, like Elyn, you aren't going up and down this roller coaster of going off the medication, then going on and having to take more and less, because that probably had a worse effect versus if she would have just taken in it and had very few relapses and was able to maintain a smaller dosage rather than having a higher dosage, which has more negative effects on the brain tissue. Anyways, that's all. Thanks for listening. I look forward to watching your videos.